Hi, my name is Hannah McIntosh, and this is my graduate presentation for Telepractice in summer of 2025. Today, our client is going to be Julia, who's a 13-year-old female diagnosed with level 2 autism. She currently receives school services and presents with an expressive language delay. She has a big interest in ocean animals and the water, so we're going to do an ocean-themed session today to kind of pique her interest and keep her engaged. Um, her goals are she's got one focusing on literacy and on kind of a lot of those components using context clues, main ideas, things like that. Her other goal is going to be more kind of a pragmatic language goal. So looking at kind of like social scenarios, how to respond, identifying nonverbal communication, what that means, as well as figurative language. So we are going to do a little bit of like an ocean sound guessing activity to kind of warm up our brain for kind of making guesses about things that aren't obvious to start with. Um, and then our next activity is going to be looking at how the whale would feel. So kind of identifying how a statement might make a person feel, and then formulating, we're going to kind of add on to that, formulating a response to that statement, what we might say back in that situation. That's going to lead us into our literacy activities. So we're going to look at the Shark Lady book, which is a wonderful book about how Eugenie Clark became the ocean's best scientist, and we look at some of the figurative language it uses before we kind of do an activity that we will have started in a previous session and will continue in the next session, but just kind of looking at a piece of that project for doing the graphic organizer piece. And then we'll finish with kind of a fun little escape room that's focused on social skills that pulls from a lot of different areas of pragmatic language using figurative language, responding in social scenarios, things like that to kind of round it out. So I have my friend Kelsey here today, and she is going to be playing Julia. So the first thing we're going to do is the Guess the Sea Animal Sound Challenge. So I'm going to play a sound, and let's see if Julia can guess it. Do you have any guesses?
Otter?
Let's see. Oh, it's a seahorse. Okay, okay. So sometimes, we have to figure out what things are without using some of our senses like our eyes. We do that when we're talking with our friends too, right? Sometimes we look at what their bodies are doing or what other sounds we might hear besides the words they're using. So that's kind of a little warm up for what we're going to practice today. We are going to now do a little bit of how does whale feel. So we've talked a lot about how our sentences can make other people feel and how other people's words make us feel. And so this says that the turtle says, "Hi, whale, I like your hat." So the first thing I'm going to ask is, what do you think that whale, how do you think that makes whale feel?
Happy?
I would say it probably makes him feel happy. Let's see. He is happy. Now, if somebody said to you they liked your hat, or if you were whale, what might you say back to turtle?
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. That's 1 star. Let's do one more of those. Okay, this one says, the whale says, "Turtle, let's play." And turtle says, "No way." How do you think that makes whale feel?
Sad.
Let's see. You're right. The whale is sad. There's a tear coming from her eye and she's frowning. If you were whale and you were feeling sad, what might you say back to turtle?
That made me sad.
Yeah, it's okay to let our friends know that hurt their feelings, right? That's a great way to tell people how you're feeling and identify that emotion. Awesome. The next, I know that you love the book Shark Lady, so we're going to look at some of the pages from that. So we've talked a lot about how sometimes words don't always mean what it looks like they are saying. So we're going to listen to a little bit of this read aloud, and I'm just going to ask you what some of those words actually are trying to tell us.
At home, Eugenie's mother surprised her with an aquarium of her own. A 15-gallon tank was much too small for sharks, but Eugenie shaved her allowance to buy guppies, clownfish, and coral red snails. It felt as big as an ocean in her room. Their small apartment became an aquarium, a laboratory, and a sanctuary.
So right there, it said it felt as big as an ocean in her room. What does that mean? What are they trying to say?
Hmm. That it's really big?
Yeah, that she's got all these fish. And because it had all these fish and all of the water in her room, it made the room feel so big, it almost felt like she was in the ocean, right?
Hmm.
Does it mean that her room was actually in the ocean?
No.
No, she can't breathe underwater. She's not in the ocean. It just means that it felt like her room was that big. So that's kind of a great example of how we can use words that don't always mean what we think they're going to mean or what they typically mean in certain situations. Um, all right. Our next activity is going to be a continuation of our previous activities that we did last week. So we did a little bit of the story pieces. We talked about our plot was going to be that the electric eel has trouble making friends because everyone thinks he will shock them. And so we kind of picked out our story pieces would be the eel and all the other animals in the ocean. So real quick, I just want to go through the graphic organizer and do kind of try to get the graphic organizer done so that next week we can start writing more of our story. So who are the characters for this?
The eel
Yeah,
and the octopus?
yeah. And if you need me to go back to the story pieces sheet, let me know. I can go back.
I don't remember any other characters.
Okay. So we have the octopus and the eel. Who else do we
Um,
need?
the turtle, the seahorse, and the lobster.
Good job. Turtle, seahorse, lobster. All right. And what do the characters, now we'll focus on the eel since he's our main character, right? What does the character want?
Friends.
Yeah, exactly. He wants people to play with. He wants friends. But what keeps getting in his way of making friends?
That he can shock people.
Yeah, he can shock people and everyone thinks that he's going to hurt them, right?
Right.
How is he, this is the part we really get to make up. How do you think he's going to solve this problem?
Hmm. What if he wears like a sock or something so people don't see?
I
Like,
love that idea. Where's the sock? So then he's trying to do things to look less scary, right?
yeah, yeah.
How does the problem get solved?
Hmm. I think maybe um they bump into him and they don't get shocked while playing, and they realize that just because he can shock them doesn't mean he's going.
Yeah, that's a great solution to that problem, right? Give people a
Mhm.
chance. And so that's a great way to lead into our wrap up. What's kind of our end of story lessons learned?
Um, isn't it like that saying, don't judge um a book by its cover or something?
Good job. That's a great way to use a saying for our lesson. That's a great way to incorporate that figurative language we've been working on. Um, Great. So we will dive more into, I'll give you some time to write and we'll kind of look through that next week. I'm going to dedicate a lot of that time next week. The last thing I want to end with today is one of your favorite escape room activities. So we are going to do just a couple of these and then we'll be done for the day. Sound good?
Mhm.
All right, so you tell me what I'm going to click on first. It looks like we can click on the pufferfish, the octopus, the school of fish, or the clam.
Let's do pufferfish.
Pufferfish. Okay, Josh and his brother were wrestling and making a lot of noise. Their mom said, "Hey, stop horsing around." What did she mean? Did she mean go play with your horses instead? She wants to watch a movie about horses. Stop playing in such a rough way, or it's time for dinner.
Well, Josh and his brother were wrestling and making a lot of noise. So
Yeah.
they were wrestling and making noise. And then their mom said, "Hey, stop horsing around." So with those two words, I guess it means maybe stop playing because so rough because they weren't actually playing with horses.
Yeah, let's give it a try. Good job. Okay, our clue is why. Let's do one more. I hope we make it out. Which one should we do?
Octopus.
Alrighty. Your aunt comes over to your house. She walks in the front door and hands you her jacket. What do you do? Tell her, thanks, but I don't want this. Hang it in the closet, drop it on the floor, or give it to your mom.
Hmm, I want to give it to my mom, but I think she would want me to tell her thanks. Or sorry, but I think she would want me to hang it in the closet myself.
You know what? I think that would probably help your mom out a lot. Let's try that. Let's see if that's the right answer. Good job. It looks like we're going to make it out of this underwater conundrum after all. So good work today, Julia. And that will be all for today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.